Good morning, everybody. Time to get back on the mini bike. I'm going to show you guys what I got going on here. Is this the one? 4.9. Okay. So I'm going to start building the swing arm finally. We have the pivot point for the swing arm on the back of the engine plate here. And then we have our axle hangers and our adjusters. At least that's my plan on how I'm going to do it, but we'll see. Should work. And then we have our bending instructions for one of the tubes. So there'll be two of these that make up the swing arm, basically. And then the brackets, the pivot points up here. The brackets are going to be back here. And yeah, first thing we got to do is figure out how to bend this piece of pipe, this piece of tubing. We got to make two of them. Alright, I just spent the last hour and a half bending these tubes here, and this is what I came up with right here. The bender doesn't really want to bend two bends this close, so I have to use a specific kind of technique for that. But I finally figured it out. All of these over here were mistakes, basically. So basically just trying things out. This one, way off. I'm having a hard time translating my bending instructions into actually using it with the Rogue Fab bender. Because on here that makes it look super simple. You know, you draw it through there, you flip it at 180 degrees, and then you draw it through some more. But that's not exactly how this bender works. So yeah, it's been a bit of a struggle, but I got it figured out. So I'm pretty much done for the day. I got to go pick my son up from school. But that's next is putting this thing together, putting the axle plates in it, putting some gussets, you know, making it strong, and eventually a shock mount somewhere in there as well. So, but yeah, let's start. Good morning. It's another day. This is my rear axle hanger here. The whole thing is put together. These are going to be my adjusters, so I got to get these put in. Then we can actually start building the swing arm. Alright, I wanted to show you guys where I'm at with this. I got the tubing that I bent up. I slotted it so that this would slide in there, and I've just been spending the last little bit getting this thing as squared up and as perfect as possible. So I mean, this is tacked in now, everything's good. Now we got to work on actually getting this tube to be where it needs to be. So this back here, I use this little piece of square bar and a couple of washers under each side, basically to get these, to get the axle hangers level. I'm gonna add another piece of tubing from here, and it's going to tie into the rest of this. So I think what I'm gonna do, actually, since this thing is perfect the way it is right now, let's lock it in before we go and lose that by trying to get this fit. So I'm going to cut a piece of tube and notch it to fit right in here, and that's what's going to go in first before we go and try and do the other to get this fit in, because I need to trim, I need to cope the ends here and make sure that this is completely square to the rest of the arm. So yep, I'll come back at you with that tube. so I've got this whole thing tacked together. Well, no, I don't have it all tacked together yet. I just finished making these 2 tubes here. Let's sit on here. I think I still need to do a little bit of work. I want to notch them a little bit to get them to come down a little bit more. But that's gonna be the swing arm right there. That's it. Until we figure out a shock mount, and then we'll put a shock mount in there. But yeah, so I'm gonna get this thing finished up. I'm gonna weld it all up, and then we'll put the wheel on here, and we'll get this brake rotor, you know, welded in, our flange that we made. Or we'll get the brake mounted and the brake rotor welded in. That'll be our next step. And then we'll get this all back on the bike and finish or keep trucking away on the frame. This thing is all welded up. I think if I start making more of these, I'm gonna have to build a fixture, of course. But I'm liking this design so far. This is the second one that I've built. Changed a lot. Changed this pivot point up here. Before we just had 2 rod ends coming off of each tube. It allowed way too much flexibility. So now we have this with the bearings that go in there. And then I also changed the axle hanger kind of, and also added this extra support in here. So yeah, now I need to get the rear wheel in there and figure out how this brake is going to mount. I think that I may have screwed up when it comes to the spacing on this, but we'll see. We'll make it work. All right, here we are. This is the rear brake. This brake line isn't even anywhere near long enough, so I guess I'll have to get a different brake line. Anyways, yeah, here's the brake. I think we're gonna rotate it probably up a little bit higher even as that, probably almost straight up and down. But I gotta take and cut this bracket off. Luckily the brake caliper fits there perfectly, and the axle, everything was the right size. So but I got the rotor to run true, and I got it tacked in here. So I'm gonna pull this all apart. We're gonna cut that, probably pull the disc off and go ahead and finish welding that up, and then we can work on the actual brake mount, and then we'll move on to something else. Alright, so I made a trip to the hardware store, and this is what I came up with. I've got an axle for this thing, for the rear, and then I'll use this one for the front because it fits perfectly in the front. And it's a little bit too long in here on the rear. So anyway, I also got these 2 little Heim joints because the brake is going to move unless there's something to stabilize it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to attach the Heim joint down here on one end, and then I'm gonna make a little tab to put the other Heim joint there. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna take this over to the bandsaw. I'm gonna cut it and clean it up, and I'm gonna thread these 2 together because it doesn't need to be very long. well, that's done. That's on there, so now the brake is fixed. It can move back and forth with the wheel. It's kind of hard to show, but yeah, might have to get the frame back over here and get this mounted on there to see what it looks like. All right, how does that look? That's the start of something. Okay, so check it out. We got our engine mounted to our base plate, to our swing arm, which is built out with the brake and everything. So, yeah, that's a start. That's a good start. So now, I mean, we just need more tubing. We got to put a head tube here. I got the neck out at the machine shop. Hopefully, I'll get that back tomorrow. We got to make some tubes for this. I need to sit down and do some measurements. Lots and lots of measurements here. Good afternoon, everyone. It's the next day, and I have been working. Well, I did some stuff this morning, but I've been working a little bit here. I'm painting the wheels. Mainly, I wanted to paint the back one so I could put it all back together, and the sprocket as well. Here's the sprocket being painted. So this one is fully painted. It needs to dry, and then I'm gonna put the tire back on it, and oh, I need a valve stem. But I'm gonna put the tire back on it and bolt the sprocket and the brake rotor on it. I'm gonna get that, I wanna get that back together with the tire on it so I can put it on the bike. Alright, that's gonna be it for this video. This is a little bit of the shock mount, which I will be installing on the next episode. Thank you guys for watching, and we'll catch you on the next one.